Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, guests. Tonight I want to tell you a story about the summer after I turned 13 years old and I sort of became an entrepreneur. My great-granddad, Big Jack, used to make crab traps out on Wilmington Island. That summer he gave me about 25 crab traps, and we had a rowboat with a 15 horsepower engine on the back of it, and we lived on a little tidal creek, and if the tide was right, we could get out of the creek and then go check the traps, and then I'd sell the crabs to the co-op. That was the business plan. It's pretty simple. But the key phrase there is if the tide was right. It was about an hour and a half before low tide until about an hour and a half after low tide where you couldn't get in or out of that creek. So if I was at home, there was no way for me to get out and check the traps. If I was out there checking the traps, there was no way for me to get back home. I could be stuck out there for hours. See, I had my own little crabbing empire, but I didn't control my schedule. My schedule was controlled by the Earth's gravitational pull on the moon. And it changed every day. But I loved it. I loved getting out there in that little boat, driving on the water, salt air in my face, pulling up the crab traps. Every day was like Christmas. You never knew what was going to be on the other side. Until one day, I went to go check one of the crab traps, or went to go check the crab traps, and I get to the river where I'd put all the crab traps, and all my crab traps were at the very front of the river, not where I'd put them. Out there on the water, there are no property fences or boundary markers or anything like that, but there are professional crabbers. And these professional crabbers have what they call territories. And this was a clear sign that I had put my traps in somebody else's territory. And he was suggesting that I move those crabs. So I picked up my traps and I moved them. Apparently to somebody else's territory. So we do this song and dance for a couple of rounds until I found the ideal spot. There's nobody's crab traps anywhere to be found. There's not even much boat traffic in this area. So I set up my traps, and life was good until it wasn't. That's right, I went to go check my traps, but this time they weren't at the mouth of the creek. They were just gone. But turns out, in my quest to find the ideal crabbing territory, I'd gotten a little bit too close to Fort Pulaski. Anybody ever been to Fort Pulaski National Monument on the way out to Tybee? It's that national monument part that makes it federal land. And on federal land, you can't crab, fish, or hunt, or crab on federal land. So I went from getting bullied around by the professional crabbers to getting bullied around by Uncle Sam. What's a guy to do? So I did what a lot of entrepreneurs do. I pivoted. I went to go work for one of the professional crabbers. Quick show of hands. Anybody friends or family members with a professional crabber?
Not here.
Then you won't mind my saying, those guys are nuts. Crazy redneck crabbers. And ain't none of them got all their fingers. Byproduct of the business, I guess. There was one time we were out on the boat, and the boat breaks down out near Wausau Sound. I don't even remember what was wrong with the boat, but he had to go back and get the part to fix the boat. But of course, you can't just leave a boat there with all the crabs and everything. So you might as well leave the kid there on the boat, anchored out on the edge of Wassaw Sound. He hands me the cigarette. It's all twisted up on each end, and it smells like oregano. It was the best day of the entire summer. But I'll never forget this one conversation I had with him early on. He asked me, he said, "So you're in school?" I was like, "Well, yeah, we're on summer break, but yeah, I just finished the 7th grade." He snaps his head around at me and says, "You going back?" Yeah, I think I might give 8th grade a try. At least to see how the girls have developed. He proceeds to tell me he quit going to school every day in the 3rd grade and just quit altogether in the 5th. He'd been crabbing ever since. And as a young punk who had no idea what he wanted to do, didn't have much academic aspirations beyond high school, getting out of high school, that question, or that conversation got my attention. I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I didn't want to stay there. Fast forward to today, I'm still sort of an entrepreneur. I'm not out there pulling crab traps anymore, but the life lessons that I learned that summer crabbing still stay with me today and help guide me. The first is you gotta respect the tide. There are things that happen on a schedule that you can't control. The key isn't fighting against those forces. The key is learning to work within them, hopefully using them to your advantage. The second thing is you gotta know your territory. Whether it's business practices or environmental regulations, ignorance is not an excuse, it's a liability. You've got to understand the environment you're operating in, and when you need some experienced help, you need to be able to partner with somebody that can help guide you to where you want to go. And the last thing was education and growth matter. The life choices that you make about your education and the skills that you develop, those will help determine the opportunities that get presented to you, and that will help determine your life's path. That 13-year-old kid who kept having to move his traps all over the place, he eventually, but indubitably learned that the best way forward isn't fighting against the current. It's learning to read the water, prepare yourself so that when the tide's right, you can take advantage. Toastmaster.